in an opulent penthouse in Manhattan, where Chijioke, a young, successful billionaire heir, stares out of the floor-to-ceiling windows. He appears detached, distant, as though something is missing. In his mind, I had everything they said I should want. The finest cars, the biggest house, the right circles of friends. People worshipped my last name, my wealth. But in all that opulence, I felt an emptiness. They call it privilege, but it feels like a prison. What's the use of a world at your feet when the one thing that matters most is so far beyond your reach? She was the one thing I wanted that I couldn't buy. Chijioke walks through his penthouse, picking up a framed photograph of Ifeoma. A soft smile spreads across his face, but his eyes are filled with sorrow. Her name is Ifeoma, the woman who had my heart from the moment I saw her. But I couldn't have her, not the way I wanted. She was the one person who didn't see me as Chijioke Okafor, the heir to a fortune. She saw me as a person, not my bank account, and that scared me. Maybe that's why I loved her even more. But love wasn't enough. It never was. She was meant to be with someone who could understand her world, someone who wasn't shackled by expectations or privilege. A grand gala at a 5-star hotel. Chijioke stands at a corner, observing Ifeoma as she chats with a group of well-dressed individuals. She stands out, but not in a way that seeks attention. Her grace is quiet, deliberate. Chijioke said, "The first time I saw her, she wasn't in a crowd. She wasn't chasing after attention. She was simply herself. I could feel the magnetic pull, the quiet power she held." People gathered around her, but her eyes were always somewhere else, lost in thought, pondering the deeper meaning of life. It was in those moments, when she wasn't performing for the world, that I saw who she truly was. Chijioke is sitting at a kitchen table, scribbling on a notepad, lost in thought. He's coming up with a plan, the weight of it pressing on his mind. Money had never mattered to Ifeoma. She didn't need it, but I needed her. She needed to see me as more than a name, more than a legacy. If I wanted a chance with her, I had to change the way I approached everything. I had to show her that I was more than just the person everyone thought I was. He stood abruptly, determined. He walks over to the cupboard and pulls out a chef's hat and an apron. He gazes at them with resolve, his eyes burning with purpose. He said if I couldn't win her with my wealth, I'd win her with my heart. She didn't need a billionaire. She needed a man who understood what it meant to fight for something real. So, I devised a plan. A plan so simple, yet so dangerous. It would strip away everything I'd ever known. Cooking. It was the one thing I could learn from scratch. The one thing I could make my own. But cooking wasn't just about ingredients and technique. It was about passion, about heart. And that's what Ifeoma needed to see, a man with heart. Chijioke's new identity, Ben, is born. He walks into a small, modest kitchen as a chef's assistant. He's in a simple uniform, no suits, no ties, just a chef's jacket and a worn apron. I became Ben, a simple chef with no ties to a fortune. I shaved off the privilege, the titles. All that mattered now was the food, the work, the skill I could offer. Would Ifeoma see me for who I really was? He walks into the mansion of Ifeoma's family, carrying a basket of vegetables. The butler greets him but doesn't ask questions. Chijioke's heart beats faster as he steps through the door. Chijioke works quietly in the kitchen, observing Ifeoma from a distance. She enters occasionally, speaking to the staff with kindness and respect. She's graceful, confident, but there's a sadness in her eyes. Chijioke notices. She didn't recognize me. At first, I thought I might be able to get close to her, to talk to her as Ben, the humble chef. But it wasn't that simple. She wasn't impressed by my cooking. No, it was my presence, she noticed. I caught her looking at me sometimes, wondering why I was different from all the others who came and went. And for the first time, I felt seen. Chijioke carefully plates a dish for Ifeoma. As she takes a bite, Her eyes widen in surprise at the unexpected depth of flavor. Ifeoma smiling and said, "This is incredible. How did you learn to cook like this?" Chijioke hesitates, unsure of how to answer. Chijioke, smiling humbly, just learned a few tricks along the way. Ifeoma begins to open up to Chijioke during their brief interactions in the kitchen. There's a chemistry between them, one that isn't built on money or status, but on shared moments of humanity. She said, "Do you ever wonder what life would be like if we could just walk away from all of this? The expectations, the labels, the pressure to be something we're not." Chijioke, feeling the weight of her words, nods, and said, "Sometimes, but maybe it's not about walking away. Maybe it's about figuring out who we are when everything else fades away." Their eyes meet for a moment. There's a connection, a bond starting to form. Chijioke feels the stirrings of hope in his chest. As the days go by, their bond deepens. Ifeoma begins to trust Chijioke, opening up about her fears, her dreams, and her struggles with family expectations. Chijioke listens, genuinely invested in her words. And she said, "You know, sometimes I feel trapped. Everyone expects me to marry someone who will further my family's legacy. But what if that's not what I want? What if I just want to find someone who sees me? Not my family, not my wealth, just me." Chijioke replied, "I think we all want that, to be seen for who we truly are. Not for what we represent, but for the person we are inside." Ifeoma looks at him, sensing the depth in his words. For the first time, she wonders if there's more to this chef than meets the eye. Chijioke can't hold it in any longer. One evening, after a long day of work, he reveals his true identity to Ifeoma. He said, "I'm not who you think I am. I'm not just Ben the chef. I'm Chijioke Okafor, the heir to one of the largest empires in the city. But I didn't want you to love me for my name. I wanted you to love me for who I am. And now, I realize that's the most valuable thing I can offer you." Ifeoma stands there, stunned. Silence fills the room as she processes his words. The truth hangs heavy between them. Love isn't something you can buy. It isn't about wealth or status. It's about being vulnerable, being willing to strip away everything that defines you, and showing the person you love your true heart. I learned that in the hardest way possible, but in the end, it was worth it. Because love, true love, is the one thing that can't be bought. It's earned. Subscribe now for more videos.